Hey, welcome to the computer screen. Let's take a look at this latest month's market information here in Louisville. We're going to spend just a few minutes looking at the broader overview, and then I'm excited to kind of dive into the bowels of Portland because there's certainly been a lot of hype going on about the Portland area over the last several years. So without further ado, let's take a look here at Greater Louisville. So in Greater Louisville, we can see that the number of listings has indeed risen going into the peak selling season. But as I mentioned last month, the number of inventory, or the number of houses that are available for sale, just has not matched what we saw last year at this time, which in turn was less than the year before. So that continues to be an issue. Especially if you're a buyer. It's just so tough right now trying to find something that's sitting around for you to make a decision if it's priced right and if it's in good condition, because it just, properties are getting snatched up so quickly as we continue to see. However, as we rounded out the peak selling season, there has been a bit of a pushback. Perhaps buyers are less willing to continue this stratospheric rise in the average price tag in Louisville, because that indeed went down in the month of July. We'll see how that plays out the rest of the year. Absorption rate continues to hang around the bottom, and then of course our average days on market just continues to plummet. So houses continue to be snatched up more quickly on average than they were at any given point in the past. Okay, so that's our Greater Louisville snapshot. Let's switch over to Portland because I'm again really excited to take a look at what's going on in Portland versus the rest of Louisville. So I was out showing property the other day to someone, and this person mentioned that they were interested in a home that was for sale in the Portland area where the asking price was $65,000. And they made the comment that one of the reasons they were interested in the property or buying and moving in was because they felt that within 3 to 4 years that property would be worth $250,000, or 4 times more, give or take, than what it is worth today. Now, when someone makes a comment like that, knowing what I know about the fact that most property in Louisville only increases a few percentage points per year, and that for a property to quadruple in value over a 3 to 4 year period would be statistically impossible. Nevertheless, when someone makes that kind of claim, either they know something that I don't, or vice versa. And regardless, I took the diplomatic route and chose to keep my mouth shut because, in case they know something I don't, I need to do my homework on that part of town and figure out if there's any truth in that. So that's exactly what I did, because I think we've all been hearing the various legends and hype that's been going on in Portland for several years now as to real estate values. But what is actually happening? What are the actual numbers telling us is going on in Portland? Well, I've got that information at my disposal in the MLS, so I took a few minutes to dig in and put all of this in a spreadsheet and make sense of it. And so I'm excited to kind of unveil this to you, and I hope you get something out of it, or at least as much as I have. So let's take a look at what all that entails. Okay, so the first thing I did was I drew a geographic area of what is, give or take, Greater Portland. Of course, I could be off by a few blocks, as with any neighborhood. There's no definite line. But in general, I think it's fair to say we're covering most of Portland here in this search. and I asked the MLS to show me year by year how many properties actually sold, regardless of price tag. And I was able to do that over the last 5 years. You can see here 2012 through 2013, again 2013 through 2014, so on and so forth for the last 5 years. And I'm curious to know what the average sold price is doing, which is this number right here. Okay, because if that's going up, down, or sideways, then that's going to tell us a major story as to what's going on in Portland. And then how is that comparing versus Greater Louisville? If we flip over to our spreadsheet here, I've compiled all this information in one place, and so I'll take just a minute here to kind of translate for you what's going on. And I think we're going to see some interesting statistics here. Let's take a look. Alright, so our spreadsheet here lays out all of the stats gathered from the MLS. It's real simple. We've got the average sold price in Portland over the last 5 years. So starting in 2013, as of the end of July, going into the beginning of August, our average price tag was a little over $19,000, as you can see here. 2014, 15, 16, and 17, you can see how that number has indeed gone up over the last 5 years. This shows us our yearly increase. So in fact, from 2013 to 2014, there was a decrease of 3%. But the next year, we blew up in Portland and went over 50% year-over-year gain in the average price tag in Louisville, so on and so forth. For an average yearly gain over this five-year period, the average plus or minus was 15%. Wow, that is pretty amazing, considering, especially historically speaking, in Greater Louisville, the averages run a lot lower over the long run. So in the short run, Portland has definitely blown up, so to speak, in the last 5 years. Compare that versus the average sold price in Louisville over those same 5 years and those yearly increases. There are no decreases in this case. And we can see that Portland has outpaced Louisville on average by, what is that? Over 2 to 1 on a yearly basis. 15 divided by 6 is 2.5, so 2.5 to 1 on a yearly basis. Pretty impressive. Furthermore, the total 5-year increase in average sold price, if we take 30,930 minus 19,051 divided by 19,051, which you can see is our formula right here, we get an average, or sorry, we get a 5-year increase in average real estate values of 62%. That's pretty amazing. Greater Louisville, on the other hand, has also seen an impressive 25%, but nowhere near what we've seen in Portland. So Portland is indeed outpacing the Greater Louisville area. That is the good news. The questionable comment that I alluded to earlier is, are prices going to increase so quickly in the next few years that the average price tag is going to essentially quadruple in the next 3 to 4 years? Well, the answer, unfortunately, is no, more than likely. If we take the average yearly increase of 15% here and actually run the math, we can see that if prices increase in Portland at the pace they currently have been over the last 5 years, or an increase of 15%, this time next year, the average price tag should be a little over $35,000. Okay, in order for the average home in Portland to quadruple in value, or to go up to about $120,000 on average, we would have to go through 10 straight years of 15% annual increases in property values, and that's with no downturns, no stagnation, no recession, no depression, no financial catastrophes, no nothing. Okay, that is highly unlikely, obviously, and it's still, even if it did occur, you can see it would take 10 years at the current pace we're going. So again, it's healthy to run these exercises because we want to kind of rein in some of the hype and the myth here and look at the actual numbers. That said, it's still important to realize that over the last 5 years, the increase has been real. There's no question about that. Now, what does the future really look like in Portland? Well, let's talk about that for a second. So once again, none of us has a crystal ball. Nobody really knows what's going to happen in this part of town over the next, say, 5 or 10 years. Certainly, if you were talking about downtown Louisville or East Market Street 10 years prior to them becoming kind of a drawing point to Louisville, no one ever would have guessed what the potential could have become, and indeed has become in those parts of town. So Portland could certainly follow along that same kind of trajectory. However, it's important to note, as it stands today, even with this dramatic increase in prices, the average price tag in Portland is still 7 times less what the average home sells for in Greater Louisville. That is a gigantic chasm to cross over the next given timeline, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, so on and so forth. That's not to say it can't happen, but a whole lot has to go right for Portland in this medium to long-term future for that average price tag to get anywhere near what we're seeing in Greater Louisville as a whole. And I sincerely hope it does, because as Portland rises, then more than likely so will the rest of Louisville. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, guys, I hope you got something out of this. I found this very interesting and a great exercise to run here. I know I certainly learned a lot. Hope you did too. If you have any comments or questions, as always, you can reach out to us here at Dream Digs. Thanks for watching.